Well, welcome everyone to our third E1 Tech Talk, as we were just having a little chat about. So these conversations are just one way that our E1 Collaborative, which has 14 partner organizations in Southeast Minnesota, are coming together to bring some programming and support to the regional tech entrepreneurs. I'm Christine Beach. I'm the Executive Director of the Kabara Institute for Entrepreneurial Studies at St. Mary's University of Minnesota. And I have the pleasure of being the moderator today on our Tech Talk, and Jamie Sensbach, the Director of Operations at Collider in Rochester, is our host behind the scenes with that Collider logo, making it all happen. So thank you, Jamie. Remember that during the session, you have the opportunity to post your questions in the Q&A tab, and we'd welcome those questions. In this way, we can ensure that the topic is relevant, and we'll allow Tammy to answer what's on your mind. So bring it on, and we'll ask the questions. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment and tell you about our E1 resources. So if you're a tech entrepreneur or you're interested in becoming a tech entrepreneur, we'd strongly encourage you to visit our website, our YouTube, or our Facebook page and find out more about our partners and how we can all support you. In addition to these monthly tech talks, we're hosting weekly office hours, and this fall we're going to host an expo to connect you with the ecosystem that can support you. So follow us on social media and learn about those events. All of this is made possible through a grant we got from Launch Minnesota, which is a statewide initiative to support the growth of tech entrepreneurs. At our core, the E1 Collaborative is offering training, grants, and educational programming to our regional entrepreneurs. So today, as part of that programming, we're welcoming Tammy Lee, a tech entrepreneur with several ventures in her portfolio, for a conversation. That seems appropriate, as Tammy is a communications major who later went on to secure an MBA at St. Thomas and use her business skills in the med tech industry. Her history of success in each of these industries is remarkable. Currently, Tammy is the founder and CEO of Xena Ventures, a company that develops, acquires, and licenses new medical technology products. Her portfolio companies include Opal Cool, focusing on women's cooling needs, and Onyx Cool, focusing on athletic injuries. Previously, Tammy led Recombinix as the CEO and president of the biotech company that conducts research in gene editing solutions, where she raised over, wait for it, $34 million in a Series A round, which is amazing. Over the course of her career, she's been a successful executive in the travel industry, a candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, and a journalist. Tammy has been awarded as one of the Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Journal's 40 Under 40 and is noted as one of the smartest people I've ever met by her colleague. Welcome, Tammy. We're thrilled to have you with us today.
Thank you, Christine. It's so nice to be with you. I appreciate the opportunity to have the conversation today.
Yeah. Would you start us off with a little bit about your background, the experiences you had in the corporate world that gave you the foundation for your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, thank you. I never expected to be an entrepreneur, but as it turns out, almost every role that I was in was fairly entrepreneurial, even in large companies. I started out my career in TV news and was working out in Washington, D.C., covering stories for affiliates around the country, and would call the assignment desk to sell them stories, to sell us covering the local news there. So even when I was in journalism, I was actually in sales and marketing too. I left journalism to go into politics and worked on Capitol Hill for a U.S. senator, which was a great experience. And then crossed over into the airline industry. So my first airline was Sun Country Airlines, which was a really scrappy entrepreneurial company. That was really fun to be part of that. But the timing for that was a little challenging because it was, I was there and then 9/11 hit. And as we know what that did to our country and our airline industry, and the terrorist attacks just really impacted us all deeply, but especially the airline industry. So I was part of a Chapter 11 restructuring, which got me recruited to US Airways to do their Chapter 11 restructuring. And then after that, I had decided to run for Congress, which is a very entrepreneurial effort. I did not prevail, but it was a really great experience. And the experience that I had there and the type of campaign that I ran actually was the reason that I was recruited to Northwest Airlines to lead their global corporate communications and corporate affairs. And shortly after I got there, about 7 weeks after I got there, we started merger talks with Delta. So every time I've been in a new role, it seems like some big thing has happened that has caused me to pivot into a new direction. So most of my career has been in the airline and travel industry. But after I left Carlson Companies, I was recruited into a biotech company, and I had no background in biotech at Recombinetics. The last science class I had was political science in college, which was my undergrad, so that didn't really apply to Recombinetics. But having the MBA and the business background really gave me the skill set that I needed to help restructure that company. I came into the number 2 role, and then about a year later, the board named me CEO, and I did the capital raise. So I took basically everything that I learned along the way, Christine, as a journalist and communicator and a person who's trying to tell the story, into biotech and raise the capital. And then I was bitten by the bug. Love small companies, love startups. And that gave me the courage and the excitement to want to do it on my own. So in January of this year, I secured the financing to launch my own company in Red Wing, Minnesota, called Xena Ventures. And we produce cool therapy products in Red Wing. We've got a great team of people down there. So secured the money in January, launched the company in February, closed in March due to COVID, and now back open again. So like all entrepreneurs, there's so much that you can't predict or plan for. So you really have to have an appetite for change and risk in this business.
No kidding. And so that's pretty amazing that you really just started and then launched and then had the COVID era, which has been a real challenge for many businesses. But it seems like that has not deterred you at all, which is pretty amazing. So
well, I'm an optimist by at my core. So I always believe that at the end of every pile of manure, there's a pony in there somewhere. I just got to keep digging.
I like that. All right. So you're different than many entrepreneurs we find, especially in the tech world, in the sense that you have a business background. Mm-hmm. And most of the entrepreneurs we meet in the tech world have a tech background. That is their background, right? They're either in the sciences or the computer sciences or programming, and that's what's kind of launched them into this. So you spoke a little bit to this, but the reason you decided to leave and start your own venture was a bug, you said? It was catching the bug, right? So what was the catalyst there?
Well, I think, having a business background is incredibly helpful because a lot of entrepreneurs come to launching their own company because they have a great idea that they want to do in the marketplace or a story that they want to tell. And so as a former journalist and corporate communicator, I knew how to tell a story. And I also knew how to run a business from being part of all of those large transactions, whether it was a Chapter 11 restructuring or the world's largest airline merger at that time. So having that background was incredibly helpful. But I also love bringing new products to market, and the opportunity to launch a company with a technology that I really believed in. This was not my idea. A lot of entrepreneurs are taking their own idea into the marketplace. They've developed an app, they've created a product. So what I did was take existing technologies and just make them better. I acquire licenses from other inventors or entrepreneurs and take what they've done and kind of build a better mousetrap. So the technology of the company that I'm in today at Xena Therapies is a cool therapy technology. And I'll hold it up. So this is actually our back hip product. And you can see when it's white, this is at the charge stage. So we use phase change material, which has been around for over 20 years. This company actually started, the predecessor companies, using this phase change material in Iraq and Afghanistan to cool military equipment for the Department of Defense. And then the soldiers started putting it in their fatigues under their flak jackets because it gave them such cool relief, which gave that owner of that company the idea, well, maybe we should move into the wearable space. So this is a story of taking a technology that has been around and continuing to evolve and enhance it and make it better and just apply it into new fields of use.
I suspect that applies to or is of interest to a lot of people because not everybody has that aha moment for a new technology, but often they can see the value or potential in a technology that's there to be taken to the next step. And that sounds like that's what you did there. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about the NanoCore to Xena Ventures adventure? Because it seems like there's a real entrepreneurial lesson learned kind
There
of story
is.
there.
Yeah. So I was recruited to NanoCore to be the CEO after the successful capital raise for Recombinetics. They were looking for a CEO, and like most things, it happened by providence or serendipity. I was having my bathroom remodeled here in Hopkins, and the woman who was doing the bathroom remodel said, "Hey, you're a female CEO." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "My Uncle Bob's looking for a female CEO," which immediately made me a little like, why does Uncle Bob need a female CEO? I happen to be a single mom, so I didn't know what Uncle Bob's intentions were. But Uncle Bob Everett was running a manufacturing plant in Red Wing, and they had these products that they were making for women with menopause, this cool therapy vest to help women. And so they really wanted a woman CEO that could help tell the story of how this could benefit women's health. And so I accepted the role at NanoCore and just was in love with the technology of phase change material and how it could help women who are going through menopause. The lesson learned there is you can have a great idea, but if you don't have enough capital to scale, there are so many entrepreneurs that kind of fall through that valley of death, they call it, where you just don't have enough runway to get your product to the marketplace in the right way. And so NanoCore ran out of money, and they stopped paying me in October. And so I left, and I was looking at other opportunities to acquire technologies. They closed the doors of the Red Wing plant in December. And then in January, I raised the capital on my own to launch this company with some other product enhancements and securing some licenses from other inventors to use the product. So it was the story that a lot of entrepreneurs have. If you don't have enough money to do it right, unfortunately, you could have the best idea in the world and just not succeed in the marketplace.
Oh, so true. I'm sure lots of people have seen that, if not experienced that. Can you tell us a little bit, you started to, this technology that's the basis for Opal and Onyx Cool, this phasing technology, cooling technology, how does it work?
So phase change technology, think about it like, I'll show it to you in the, this is the Opal Cool Wrap. This is for women with menopause, and you can see inside, these cells look like they're clear. It's like a clear liquid. It's like a liquid gel, which is in the uncharged phase. So this is phase change material that is not at the 58-degree temperature where it gets to be that hard, cool, waxy format. So this is actually at 58 degrees. This is after it's been in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. It goes from this liquid gel to this sort of solid, cool wax. And it's just like ice. You know, when water turns to ice, it turns at a certain temperature. And when it melts, it also loses its heat conductive properties at a certain temperature. So we have the exact right chemical formulation to take a product from this to 58 degrees in 30 minutes in the refrigerator or freezer. So that's how the phase change works. And how it works with your body is your body's natural heat will take the product from this state to this state. The phase change material will pull the heat and inflammation away from your core and gradually melt that solid to the clear liquid. So it's a really great technology, and it's what's remarkable about it are the therapeutic properties that it's safer than ice because it only cools to that optimal healing temperature of 58 degrees, and it accelerates the healing. So unlike ice, which causes your blood vessels to shrink and constrict because it's that extreme cold, this 58 degrees allows for active, healthy blood flow. So if you got a knee injury, the blood's going to be flowing in a healthy way and accelerate the healing of that tissue.
That sounds really good. Wow. And so there's two different products, right? There's the one product that needs refrigeration to be ready to go, and then one that doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a difference in how they feel when they're wearing them?
Yeah, I'll pull one out here. So we have actually, I don't have one of the 80 degrees. The 80 degrees looks exactly like the 58 when it's charged. It just doesn't feel quite as cold. So the 80 degree product, actually, I have one here. We've got a cool pad that we have, which you can lay on if you run hot at night, have hot flashes or night sweats, or you can use it in a wheelchair. So we do the cool pad at 80 degrees, and we also do, these are called Gal Pals. So these go inside your bra. They're cooling bra inserts, and these do not need to be refrigerated. They recharge on their own at room temperature. So they feel cool, but they don't feel quite as cool as the ice feeling you have from the 58 degree material. But the benefit of these is you can pop them in your purse or your gym bag and take them on the go. Same with the cool pad. It doesn't need to be recharged. It refrigerates, it recharges itself at room temperature. So you think about your office you're in right now, it's probably around 68 to 70 degrees. So any under 80 degrees is going to mean these are recharged to the cool state.
Excellent. Well, okay, so I'm getting interested in this, but I have to remind everyone, if you have questions and you would like us to ask Tammy your questions, please submit them in the Q&A and we'll get to those. But in the meantime, I'm asking mine. So is that, I know that there were, you've got onyx and opal. Was the intent to drive towards athletics or women, and that because they have different customers that they should be different companies, or was there another reason for that?
Yeah, they're really speaking to two different segments within healthcare vertical. So the Onyx products, which are the back products, the knee, hip, this is the shoulder wrap for Onyx. Those are really targeted to orthopedic injuries, to sports injury repair, post-surgical use. And we sell a lot of those products, this is the shoulder here, into the B2B space. So we might sell, in larger volumes to chiropractic clinics or physical therapists or into hospital systems. But we also sell B2C, whereas the Opal products for women's health, the Opal Cool Wrap are really more of a B2C. We directly to women who have menopause, MS. The Gal Pals, the cooling bra inserts are great for nursing moms too, if you're training for a triathlon. So we're really speaking to two different audiences and customer segments, because with Onyx Cool, we're talking to orthopedic surgeons, we're talking to athletes, we're talking to physical therapists and chiropractors, whereas this is really all about her health. And I also, you hate to have a favorite child, but the Opal product is really my favorite child, because I'm just so committed to helping women and women's health issues. So they're both the same technology. They work both, great applications of the same technology, but this is so remarkable in what it does for women.
Yeah, oh, I can see that. And I get that, the two different customer bases. So there's a question in the chat asking, could you please comment on the challenges of raising money as a woman CEO, which you've obviously done quite well.
Yeah, well, thank you for that question. It's still an uphill climb. Less than 2% of all venture capital goes to women-owned, women-led companies. So we still are at a venture capital deficit compared to the rest of the population. You would think being 51% of the population, we should get 51% of the money, but that's just not the case. So it really still is about the network. A lot of the managing partners in venture capital firms are still men, and understand women's health as well. And it's the network of who you know, just like anything. For me, at Recombinetics, especially because I didn't have the science background, I knew that I had to be smart about how I took the story to the marketplace. So I asked somebody who was serving on the board at the time, Dr. Mitch Abrahamson, who had a PhD in biochemistry, if he would step into the number 2 role in the company and go out on all the capital pitches with me. So I told the business story and how the company was going to make money. And he got into some of the technical scientific details of Recombinetics and the gene editing technology. So I found a partner that was the perfect match for me in terms of taking the story to the marketplace. But he was also really great because there were several venture capital firms that would want to turn to him and ask him about the business plan or the pro forma or what the EBITDA was and how we valued the company. And he was great about turning it right back to me and saying, Tammy's a CEO, Tammy can answer that question for you. So there's still an underlying inherent bias toward male, dominated, oriented companies. So I think telling the right story is really important and finding the right way to position it in the marketplace. With my background in journalism and communications, I knew how to tell that story as a differentiated, unique opportunity for an investor, and then prop that up with somebody who knew all the science.
Thank you. So there's another question about the traits that you have that have allowed you to be successful in different industries. And I think you just spoke to that a little bit, the ability to tell a story, the communications background, combined with a business background that seems to be part of it. And I had a question about, we hear about DNA of startups being so important, and whether it's grit or resilience or some combination, or if it's brains or the ability to raise money, what would you say are the traits that have allowed you to be successful, whether in transitioning or within the industries that you've been in?
Yeah, well, I think, I'm certainly not the smartest person. I have an MBA, but I think what I have is persistence. I have this tattoo on my wrist in Chinese. This is persist in Chinese. My daughter speaks fluent Chinese. She's been taking it since kindergarten. So the idea of not giving up, I am an eternal optimist. And whether you call it grit or resilience or persistence, entrepreneurship and running your own company is not for the faint of heart. I think you have to have a really high risk tolerance to want to do this. But I'm also, as I said, an eternal optimist. If there's a pile of poop in front of me, there's got to be a pony in there somewhere, and I just keep giving. It's that element of persistence and never giving up. Because I think if you don't believe in yourself and your own story, nobody else will believe in it either. And so I think being able to tell the story to the marketplace and pivot. COVID is the greatest example of how we've all had to pivot from what we thought we knew or how we were going to run our companies to the new reality. I opened my company a month before all companies shut down for COVID, including us. And we were really more of a B2B platform for the Onyx brand, and we couldn't sell into physical therapy clinics and chiropractors and hospitals. So that meant I had to pivot my marketing strategy to more consumer direct with Google ad buys or advertising. And on that opportunistic theme, a lot of companies were not buying ads at that time. And so when other people were pulling back all their sponsorship and advertising dollars, I doubled down, because advertisers like Minneapolis St. Paul Magazine and Twin Cities Business and others were doing what I call pandemic pricing. So I doubled down instead of retrenching. And I think that's probably another key element that's helped me succeed.
Which is always a challenge for entrepreneurs, to know when it's that time, right? To double down. And some of that is a little bit of wisdom, luck, right? There's a little bit of both playing in there. And I love what you said about that. So the COVID impact for your business was really shifting the business model more to consumer.
Right.
Versus, yeah. And I just spoke with another entrepreneur who had said her business was based off of being in expos where she could market. And instead, with the expos closed down, she doubled down on her Facebook advertisement and social media advertisement and has increased her consumer purchases as a result. So sounds like a similar theme that's kind of coming out a little bit.
It is. We're all learning about new media channels that we hadn't played in before. I never thought I'd be doing radio ads, but I'm doing radio spots now on KS95 and My Talk 107. So actually going to the place, instead of expecting your customers to come find you, you've got to go to the place to where they are. It's like Wayne Gretzky, where the puck is going to be, not where the puck is right now. And so, finding who's got the customers, who's got the buyers that would be interested in your product. And so COVID has made us have to be much smarter and more nimble as we think about how to bring our products to market.
Yeah, I can imagine. And we'll see how that continues to evolve as time goes on, right? It'll be interesting. There is a question about gene editing. So what is the future of gene editing based on your background in that? What do you see happening next with that field?
So that's a fascinating field, and it's high growth, and it is the future of personalized medicine. So Recombinetics had the ability to gene edit animals, pigs in particular, to find cures for human diseases. So they could create a pig that would mimic the Alzheimer's condition, or would have cardiovascular disease or polycystic kidney disease.
Mhm.
Be able to test different treatments on the animal before you take them into a clinical trial with human patients. The other application of that technology is to gene edit animals for health and welfare traits. So in the Excelligen business, we could gene edit a strain of code in the animal, a sequence of code to, for example, take out, to delete a small section of it. So we could delete the section of the DNA code that caused a cow to grow horns, a dairy cow. And so on dairy farms, you have to dehorn cows for the safety of the cattle and for the safety of the owners. And it's a really nasty process, and it's not great for the animal, and the handlers don't like to do it either. So with a tiny little like genetic eraser on the top of a genetic pencil, you can erase that section of code that causes them to grow horns. Or you can add a trait in, so like a word processor, like a Word document, you can insert other letters in the code too. And we could insert letters into the code of cattle to actually make that cattle heat resistant. So in places that are protein scarce, developing countries, to create cattle that are more disease and heat resistant. So gene editing holds great promise for the future, not only for human health, but for animal health. And whereas some people will say, well, are you playing God? Are you doing something that, that is scary or Frankensteinish? Not at all. All the advancements in human health have come from great ideas, taking what we know and putting it into a new arena. And this is no different than what you could do through precision editing. You just accelerate the process by 20 times.
So, and I don't know enough, I know almost nothing about gene editing, but is there an opportunity at some point to edit out identified genes that are disease carriers?
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yeah,
what?
yep. There are absolutely ways to do that. There's ways to create ways for your own cells to attack other cancer cells with CAR T cells. So that really is the wave of the future in human health, to use your own body's ability to fight off disease, to attach something to it as a guide to go off and fight the disease within your system, versus chemotherapy or shots or pills or surgeries. It really is the wave of the future. And there's so much promise there, way beyond in human health than what my understanding is, because we were really focused on animal models. But yes, that will create a lot of opportunity in the future. And with that too come other questions too of ethics in human health.
Absolutely, yeah. So I know, and we kind of got off on that a little bit, but it was a good question. I'm glad it was asked. Um, you have a very interesting business model in that you are actually seeking out new technologies to potentially license and bring to market, as opposed to trying to come up with them yourself. So it seems like you would be, I think it's a great system, right? You can partner with people who have come up with these technologies who maybe can't get through that valley you were talking about. So how do you connect with them? What type of technologies are you looking for? How would entrepreneurs who watch this know whether they're a right fit to connect with you?
Yeah, so right now, I'm really focused on the therapeutic space with the phase change material around cool therapy. We've
Mhm.
acquired a license for a technology around infrared heat therapy too. So really my vertical right now, my slice of the medical pie is really on therapeutic applications, both of cool therapy and heat therapy.
Okay.
So I look for technologies that align with that portfolio. So if we're selling cool therapy into a chiropractic clinic or wellness center, They might also want the contrast therapy of heat through our infrared cocoon pods. So I try and find things that make sense. That the cocoon pod, the infrared play is really an existing technology too that's been around for 30 years, but they were primarily focused in weight loss and wellness centers. We are taking that technology and doing some studies around other applications and taking it into the medical space as a class 2 medical product. So again, same with the cool therapy. We're FDA registered as a class 1 product, so much more therapeutic applications of the cool therapy. With the infrared heat therapy, class 2 medical claims that we'll be making around use of that product. These are both, what they have in common, they're both existing technologies that have been around for 20 or 30 years, but maybe not penetrating the particular vertical that we're in, or we're going into new channels with existing technologies. So it has to be proven technology. It can't be a brand new app that or an idea that somebody has. And we've taken a business that didn't succeed in the marketplace, both with the cool therapy, or in this case, expanding the business opportunity around heat therapy and making the business work better. So the background with the MBA and making businesses run well is what really makes it work for any idea that we bring into the portfolio. We take existing technologies and just scale them faster and better. At least that's the hope.
Yeah, right. So the people you're dealing with, they already have patented technology. And so you're actually purchasing their IP essentially.
Yeah, getting a license to the patent. That's correct.
And so when someone is out there and they have put in a patent, at what point should they consider partnering or licensing out their technology versus taking it on themselves? What would your advice be?
Yeah, it depends on how much capital they have. Every company that rises and falls on their ability to have enough runway to get into the marketplace and have people know about the features and benefits of their product. And so I think it's what every entrepreneur or inventor faces. They might have a great idea that's sitting on the shelf because they don't have the money to manufacture or market or get it into the arena to customers. So the challenge is knowing how much runway they have to make their idea work. Some people don't want to give up control. I mean, that's the case with a lot of entrepreneurs, or they think that their product is worth, tens of millions of dollars because there's an addressable marketplace of 2 billion. It's not worth anything if you can't get it into the marketplace. And my philosophy when I was at Recombinetics raising capital, and in this company too, I'd rather have, 10% of the pie, $1 billion pie, than 100% of zero. So the math works really easily when you look at how big a share you need to have versus how you can quickly succeed in the marketplace before another competitor sneaks up and passes you by.
That seems like a really hard lesson for a lot of entrepreneurs, right? They become wedded to their idea and bringing it to market. So I don't know if there is a magic stage where you say if you've been working on it just so long and you're not reaching your market, you need to look at other people licensing your technology. Is there that kind of if someone comes to you and says, I've been trying for 6 months and it hasn't worked, you say, keep working at it. If they say, I've been trying for 2 years, say you need to license your technology to somebody else, it's going to become obsolete too quickly.
Yeah, it's all about the competitors that are chasing you down. So if you have technology that's so novel in the health science world, like gene editing, there are some really novel technologies that might take a couple years for somebody to catch you. If it's a medical device or product that is similar to something in the marketplace, there's probably going to be a copycat that has more money and can get to market faster and better than you can. So it really kind of comes down to, are you the only in your space? And do you have some time to let this mature in the marketplace? Or is somebody nipping at your heels and you've got to get this to market faster than they do?
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to remind people if they have any other questions, they can put them in the Q&A box. But one question I have for you as we're talking about licensing new technologies, We often hear that if you are an entrepreneur and you have an idea, that you should work with a university to license that technology, like the U of M and their technology crew. Have you found that to be uh, the right path to advise people to take, or are they better off finding someone like yourself in their field to partner with?
Well, Christine, I think it depends on how mature the technology is too. Universities are great incubators to launch new novel technologies. I worked at the University of Minnesota Foundation for 2.5 years, so I know how big universities work. Um, they're a great incubator for technologies, but they're not necessarily the fastest way to get to market. There's more bureaucracy, more around the licensing deal. So if you're inside a university and you've got a patentable idea, absolutely. If you're outside a university system, sitting on your own, I would say go directly to a great patent lawyer and get that patent published as quickly as you can, and then start raising capital around your idea to see if you can get some interest in it, and just get to proof of concept stage, or minimum viable product stage, where you can attract and secure more financing.
So you seem like someone who is constantly looking for the next new thing. For you, is the next new thing going to be another company that you can bring under Xena Ventures, or do you see all new areas for you to explore?
Well, I feel like my bucket's pretty full right now with the cold therapy companies with Onyx and Opal, and we're about to announce the launch of this other company under the infrared side of the house, which will be Xena Red. So I think we've got our plate full for probably a couple of years here. That being said, if there's a technology that fits or is aligned with a cool therapy product or our infrared product where we're already selling into that space, we would be interested in acquiring those products because we're already having the conversation with the right providers. So just adding in other products into our portfolio mix and bundling them together. For us, the next acquisition has to really make sense with the two companies that we've got that we're launching right now.
So you have Onyx and Opal, and you said Red?
Yeah, Xena Red will be launching an infrared heat and light cocoon product.
Mm-hmm.
WARMS, and that stands for a Wellness and Recovery Rehabilitative Medical Systems. So that's really using infrared heat technology for various pain applications, whether it might be fibromyalgia or also blood circulation for people with diabetes, pain management, other acute conditions. There's been some research around dementia and cognitive loss. So really focusing on how we can make more clinical claims in that space. That being said, if we're selling an infrared cocoon pod into a hospital or a clinic, and we've got another technology that can be used in partnership with that. For example, we have access to a technology to do these dermabrasive facials. So if you're laying in the pod in a wellness center and you're getting a facial at the same time, that makes sense to bundle those technologies together. That's an example of how that might work. Or if we're selling in, the Opal products for women with menopause, we might take on another line of products that are supplements, natural homeopathic supplements for women going through menopause. And we continue to innovate and add to that product line. So we had the Opal Cool Wrap for women with menopause before I came up with the idea for the Gal Pals, the cooling bra inserts. And how this idea came was just a product extension from this existing technology. And I was actually in a Starbucks coffee shop one day meeting with a woman who has a venture fund about my company. At that point, I was still trying to secure capital. And I held up, an example of this phase change material that was sitting on the table between us. And it was at the 80-degree temperature. It didn't look like this. It was just like a strip. And she said, "Oh my God, I'm having a hot flash right now." And she took it and she stuck it inside her shirt right in the middle of Starbucks. And I thought, that's a great idea. So then I started making these Gal Pals. So our customers or people that we're talking with continue to find new applications of these. And that's really more how I'm expanding the business today versus taking on new technologies until I feel like I've fully scaled the ones that I have.
That makes a lot of sense. So as a woman, you've had success in all of these different industries, and now as an entrepreneur, right? Not just CEO of a company, but as an entrepreneur launching these new ventures, right? Raising capital. And so you faced all of those challenges along the way. What kind of advice would you give a younger, just starting out, maybe not, I don't mean age younger, I mean younger in their entrepreneurial journey? How would you advise them?
Yeah, so really it's what worked for me, Christine, was surrounding myself with the skills that I didn't have. I think I've got a pretty good business background, a good marketing communications background, but I didn't have necessarily the deep technical scientific expertise. So filling in your gaps to make sure that you have all the skills that you need to be successful is critically important. And a lot of entrepreneurs don't want to give up control or take on other people. They want to do it on their own. And I think we're all more successful when we work together with other people that can complement us. But for women in particular, finding your clan. I mean, women are drawn to other women who can help them. And there are some great funds in the state of Minnesota that can help women entrepreneurs. Red Wing Ignite, the Collider Group, we've got Launch MN. There are venture capital funds that only invest in women-owned companies. I invest in those funds myself too to help other women. One great example is Capita 3, and another one is the Sophia Fund. So I think women really need to seek out other women-focused funds and organizations that are going to help them. And one of the things I love doing most that really fills my bucket is helping other women. So I not only invest in other women-owned funds, any woman who asks to meet with me who's an entrepreneur, I always take the meeting to do whatever I can to help connect them to other women. And I think that's how all women will succeed, by kind of helping each other out. And we're 51% of the population. We should be 51% of the success, and we're nowhere near there yet. So I've got a group of 16 women. We call ourselves the Unicorn Women that gathered out in Waverly, Minnesota. They're all female CEOs and entrepreneurs, and we are committed to helping each other help their companies succeed.
I love hearing that. You know, that didn't used to be the case, unfortunately. So this is a great trend of women helping women. And you're correct. So I'm on the Launch Minnesota board, and it's a challenge. We don't see enough women-owned tech companies coming through. So there's a real incentive for women who are interested in tech entrepreneurship. What we're finding is women who are in the sciences or who might enter into the tech field are simply not reaching out, at least to start companies. So it's really a gap in the market right now. That's are right. A unicorn in that sense, right?
Yeah, I think that's true. And it's just like there are a lot fewer women that run for political office. Women have to be asked a minimum of typical 4 times by somebody else to run for office because they think, oh no, I'm not ready, I'm not qualified, it can't be me. Men don't need to be asked once. They'll raise their hand and jump in and give it a shot, just like starting companies. I think women think, I can't do it. I'm not capable of doing it. I'm not smart enough to do it. That's simply not true. So that's why helping other women know that they can see a path forward, that they do have a good idea, and just really also making it clear that it's okay to not be good at everything. We don't have to succeed in every area. I happen to, have a stronger skill set in marketing and business, but I don't have a deep technical skill set in science. And I would rather stand up and speak in front of a room full of people and give a PowerPoint than spend 3 minutes with an Excel spreadsheet. So you got to find people who want to do the things that you don't like to do. I have an excellent CFO who is perfect at all of those kinds of details, but I don't want to spend 2 minutes on a spreadsheet. I want to spend 20 minutes writing a new radio ad or a new Facebook ad, because that's where I think my talents lie.
Right. Well, and you clearly used your talents quite well over the course of your career. So as I was researching before we had this conversation, I was just amazed of, running for political office, running these companies, going through these different industries. And then I saw that you're also a part owner in a brewery. So
Right.
tell me about how that happened.
Yeah, so those are people that I knew through politics that had worked with me or supported me on my campaign for Congress. And so I knew them through that circle. But the reason that I invested in that is because of their business plan. So a lot of people that start a brewery are passionate about brewing beer. They're brewing beer in their basement. This is what they want to do with their life. But they may not be great at business. They may be great at beer, but not great at business.
Mhm.
People that were founding Utapils happened to be great at business and love beer. So the founder had been running Vine Park Brewing in St. Paul and for 10 years. So he had a great background in the beer industry. The head brewer came from Summit Brewing. He was being recruited from there. And before that, he was at New Glarus. And the CFO was somebody who I knew who had an excellent business background. So it wasn't that I was investing in a beer company. I was investing in a business that happened to be making great beer. So I look at the founders and the entrepreneurs more so than what the thing is that they're selling. So it just happened to be a great business plan around beer. I will tell you that I probably drink more wine than beer. But when I drink beer, it's Utapils beer always because they make the best beer.
That's awesome. So, so are you just keeping your ear to the ground for new investments all the time? Is that how that happened?
It's really opportunistic. Things come my way all the time. And I also, if somebody's raising capital, will pass them along to other people that I know might be investing too to help the ecosystem, especially women entrepreneurs. I'm focused on if I know a woman that's raising capital and I think she's got a good story, I'll introduce her to other investors too. Because right now, my primary investment focus is in my own two companies right now that really need the time and attention. But as I said, if there was something that was a perfect fit for women with menopause, I'd take on another technology or product because we're already selling into that vertical. We already have the relationship. So for me, it's just adding more margin to the products that I'm already selling.
Right. So if someone had a product in that area, it would be logical for them to reach out. But
Yeah.
we have just a few minutes left. Could you talk to people who are listening here, men or women, who have a tech idea and it's in its infancy stage? Um, what would you say, like here are three things you need to make sure you do as you're walking through this process, whether that's reaching out to investors right up front or, the patent process because it takes so long, whatever those things are that you've seen either make or break new tech companies.
Yeah, I think the key thing is to surround yourself with really smart advisors, people who have been through this before, who have learned all the hard lessons and who have all the scripts and scars and wounds of entrepreneurship. And also plug into great organizations like Launch Minnesota that offers programs for entrepreneurs, North Star Advisors, Red Wing Ignite. There's a lot of groups that help women entrepreneurs in general. Capita 3 is fantastic for women entrepreneurs. They've got a 30-day boot camp that really takes you through everything you need to know about how you run a business, how you build a board, how you raise capital. So I think don't try and do it on your own. There are so many people who have tried and failed and learned the lessons. Plug into all these fabulous existing resources we have in Minnesota to make your business succeed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would also encourage people to reach out to Launch Minnesota because we are giving grants out at the state level for tech entrepreneurs. And it's, you can get $35,000 to help you move your product forward. So I think there are resources and people are not aware of all the resources that are out there to help them in this journey. So,
That's
um,
exactly right.
so
Depending on where you are in the state too, the Southeast Minnesota Initiative and Southeast Minnesota Capital, there are a lot of funds that are in the state that are looking for great investable opportunities.
yeah. So do you ever find yourself connecting with entrepreneurs in like a more of a conversational fireside chat kind of a way? I mean, other than your 16 that you get
Yeah.
together with?
Yeah, I get approached by entrepreneurs all the time, men and women who want to get together for coffee, or right now it's been a lot of Zoom meetings. I'm happy to help share what I know with anyone. What's interesting is I always learn something new from them too about how they're approaching their business. And it goes back to my days of journalism. Ask a lot of questions. I'm naturally curious, so I love hearing what other entrepreneurs are doing and also passing along what I know to them.
That is really wonderful. If someone would like to reach out to you, what's the best way to do that? Is that through your website?
They can reach out either, they can email me at tammy@zenatherapies.com, or they can reach out through LinkedIn too. Sometimes it's easier for people to find me on LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm happy to help. I always, with COVID, it's been a little more challenging to get together with people, but as I said, I never ever say no to a woman who wants to get together. It might be a Zoom call or it might be a 30-minute coffee, but happy to help. And I've also helped a lot of good men too out there. There are a lot of good men doing great things too in the world.
Oh yeah, no kidding. So I think the thing that really does cause me to say people should reach out to you is too often when I do meet women who are in the tech world, they don't have a business background. And it seems like you have so much to offer them in that arena, or they don't have a background raising capital. And so it seems like you would be a great partner for them in learning and growing, or a mentor for them in learning and growing. So I appreciate
Yeah, and I'm happy to do that. And also, I think the best thing to do for groups like that, women like that, is connect them with the groups that are offering those services and resources, whether it's Launch Minnesota or Capita Three's boot camp program. There are so many people that are doing this in a structured way to help women get all the tools they need to succeed. So I'm also kind of good as a Sherpa or navigator and just pointing women in the right direction.
That's awesome. So I'm going to close us out by saying the E1 Collaborative does offer a lot of resources because our partners include Collider, Red Wing Ignite, St. Mary's University, Winona State University, CETA, DMC. I mean, just 14 partner organizations who are coming together specifically with a goal of supporting those tech entrepreneurs. So in addition to bringing stories like yours to the table and experiences that they can draw off of, there's a desire to provide training and resources. Collider is just launching right now, I believe at the beginning of July, a disciplined entrepreneurship course that will go for 8 weeks to help people walk through whether their idea is viable and they should go to market or not. And these things are free. And I think people are just not aware of some of these resources. So yes, I echo, there are just so many resources, whether they're in the Southeast region or they are up in the cities, that can be leveraged by people who have ideas and would like to start a business. So, you know, it's almost more resources than we can even say and share, but they're there and people need to learn how to reach out to them and connect with people. So thank you for bringing that up. And thank you for pointing out that you've used those resources too, those networks. And yeah, and I know that the women ventures that are out of the cities have been so instrumental in helping women tech entrepreneurs be successful. So that is for sure. I see that more than once. Any last words you'd like to leave us with about how it's going to work in Red Wing in the future? Are you staying there? Are you going to keep?
Love Red Wing. My house is in Hopkins. My business is in Red Wing, and I chose Red Wing. I could have started this company anywhere. I chose Red Wing because I wanted to put my manufacturing plant with the people who had the right talent. And Red Wing is a great manufacturing town. Most of the people that are in the plant come from Red Wing shoes or Rydell skates. So it's a craftsman town. People know how to make high quality wearable products. So we're going to be in Red Wing. I took my plant to the people who know how to make the product best. And so that's another just final closing thoughts. Get the right talent, surround yourself with the right people, and don't be afraid to do it. You have to be pretty fearless, but there's so much reward and opportunity. And we need more women who are willing to take the leap of faith and believe and invest in themselves.
Amen. I agree wholeheartedly. Well, thank you so much, Tammy, for being with us today and sharing your knowledge. And thank you for your willingness to let people reach out to you and follow up. And I hope that we're able to get you down for one of our WE forums, our Women Entrepreneur Forums in Rochester.
I would love to do that. Thank you. I'd love to participate.
Yeah, there's a great energy in that room when we get, 50, 60 women entrepreneurs together.
I'll bring along 50 menopause vests then for that one too, and about pairs of gal pals.
I'm sure that would be quite fun for everybody to check them out. Maybe they can find out what that does for them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Christine.
Thank you. And thank you everybody for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We hope that if you didn't have a chance to join us today, that you're able to see this online at a later date. Collider will be putting it up on our E1 YouTube page and the Facebook page. So it'll be there for you to resource later. Thank you so much, Tammy.
Thank you, Christine.